Bosh chaps, welcome to Who is Who, the series where we look at some of the most influential people of all time. Now, today's episode is on Lord Robert Stevenson Smythe Baden-Powell. Few people in English history have had such a profound impact as him. He has shaped the lives of millions of people by laying the foundations for one of the largest youth movements in the world, the Scouting Association. Lord Baden-Powell was born on February 22nd, 1857, in Paddington, London. Son of Baden-Powell, an Oxford mathematician and Church of England clergyman, who died 3 years after he was born. Baden-Powell was the godson of Robert Stevenson, and, well, as you can surely see, was named after him. Robert Stevenson is widely credited as one of the pioneers behind steam locomotives. Baden-Powell was educated at Charterhouse School. In 1876, Baden-Powell joined the 13th Hussars in India, under the rank of lieutenant. In 1880, he was tasked with drawing maps of the Battle of Maiwand. He was posted to Malta for 3 years, also working as an intelligence officer for the Mediterranean for the Director of Military Intelligence. Baden-Powell once disguised himself as a butterfly collector, incorporating the plans of the military installations into his drawings of butterflies. In 1884, he published Reconnaissance and Scouting. Baden-Powell returned to Africa in 1896, where he served in the Second Matabele War. It was during this campaign where Baden-Powell met Frederick Russell Burnham, who introduced him to ideas of the American Old West and scoutcraft. Baden-Powell took these ideas and he helped to broaden his understanding of what a scout could be. It was here where he was introduced to a Montana Peak version of a cowboy hat, of which Stetson was a prolific provider or manufacturer. His hat became a symbol for scouting, sort of, and it became one of scouting's many iconic images, like the woggle or badges. Baden-Powell was accused of illegally killing a prisoner of war in 1896. The Matabele chief was to be shot by a military court, a sentence Baden-Powell confirmed. He was cleared by a military court of inquiry, but the colonial civil authorities wanted a civil investigation and trial. He later claimed he was released without a stain on my character. The illegality of it was the fact that the Matabele chief, Awini, was told that if he had surrendered, he would be granted life. This was not the case. In 1897, at the age of 40, he went to the rank of colonel, becoming the youngest colonel in the British Army. And he was given the 5th Dragoon Guards in India. A few years after this, he wrote Aids to Scouting. It was a small manual, and it was a summary of lectures he had given on the subject of military scouting. Much of this was learned from Burnham, and he used it to help train recruits. The year is 1891. The siege of Mafeking is occurring, one of the most significant and celebrated events of the Second Boer War. It lasted 217 days and brought global attention to the military ingenuity of Baden-Powell. The siege began on October 13th, 1899, when the Boers surrounded Mafeking and cut off supplies and communications, with the town heavily outnumbered and isolated. Baden-Powell implemented a series of unconventional tactics that actually helped the town hold out for those 217 days. So, a little background to the siege of Mafeking. It's a small British-controlled town in the northwestern province of what is now South Africa. It was strategically important, It was near Botswana, well, what is now modern-day Botswana, and Boer-controlled territories. The outbreak of the Second Boer War in October 1899, British forces and their allies sought to protect Mafeking as part of a broader strategy to secure control of key territories in the region. So, Baden-Powell arrived with a garrison of approximately 1,200 men, which included regular British troops and local volunteers and a small number of African allies. They faced an attacking Boer force of about 8,000 men, and they were determined to capture Mafeking, as it was a symbol of Boer resistance to British imperialism. On May the 17th, 1900, British relief forces they came, led by Colonel Mann. They broke through the Boer lines and they lifted the siege. But after his military success, Baden-Powell turned his attention to youth development. His book Aids to Scouting, initially written for soldiers, became popular among teachers and youth leaders in Britain. Realising its potential, he reimagined the concepts to appeal to young boys. In the summer of 1907, Baden-Powell organised an experimental camp on Brownsea Island. About 20 boys attended, 8 from local boys' brigades companies, and about 12 public school boys, mostly sons of his friends. For a week they learned outdoor skills, teamwork, and the principles of self-reliance. This marked the birth of the Scouting movement. The following year he published Scouting for Boys, a handbook that became an instant success. By 1909, the movement had grown exponentially. In 1912, Baden-Powell married Olive St. Clair Soames. Baden-Powell had 3 children: Arthur Robert Peter Baden-Powell, Heather Grace Baden-Powell, and Betty St. Clair Baden-Powell. By 1920, the first World Scout Jamboree was held in London, uniting 8,000 scouts from 34 nations under the motto, "Be prepared." Under Baden-Powell's guidance, scouting had become more than just an outdoor adventure. It became a force for some good, for social good. Scouts embraced service, environmental stewardship, and global friendship. Scouting even inspired the Boy Scouts movement in America, as a wandering American tourist was approached by a young scout who offered directions. And when the man went to go pay the young boy, the boy simply responded, "It's just a good turn every day." And thus, Boy Scouts of America was founded. By that one act, by that one scout, suddenly there were more and more and more people committed to voluntary service. Baden-Powell was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize on numerous occasions. 10 separate nominations occurred in 1928. In 1931, Frederick Russell Burnham dedicated Mount Baden-Powell in California to his friend, with the adjoining peak now called Mount Burnham, in recognition of their friendship. Baden-Powell visited Adolf Hitler in 1937 to talk about their 2 movements, the Scout movement and the Hitler Youth movement. Baden-Powell's biographer, Tim Gill, states, Baden-Powell condemned Hitler for being a megalomaniac and for mounting what he called huge pageants for hypnotizing his people. He hated totalitarianism, twice hoped that he would be able to marry a Jewish woman, and chose a Jewish doctor. Historian Dr. Andrew Norman said the Nazis vowed to execute Baden-Powell in the event of a successful invasion of Britain. He only wanted to introduce the Scout movement into Germany in order to foster new relations between the 2 nations. Something that Baden-Powell and the Scout movement have always been good at. As Scouts all around the world meet up year after year for jamborees and Gilwell Fun Days and camps between districts. You're always going to meet new people. In his later years, Baden Powell retired to Nairobi, Kenya, with his wife Olive, who herself was instrumental to the growth of Girl Guides. Together they inspired generations of young people to lead lives of purpose and service. Baden Powell continued to write and advocate for youth development until his passing on January 8, 1941. He was laid to rest in Kenya, where his gravestone bears a simple inscription: Robert Baden Powell, Chief Scout of the World. Today, more than a century after its founding, the Scout movement thrives, with over 50 million members in more than 200 countries. The principles Baden Powell championed, kindness, self-resilience and service, remain as relevant as ever. Lord Baden Powell, a vision simple, yet profound, to empower young people to make the world a better place. The most worthwhile thing you can do is to try to put happiness into the lives of others. Baden Powell. His legacy endures, not just in the Scouts who carry the torch, but in the countless lives they've touched with their commitment to the common good. On my honour, I promise to do my best, to do my duty, to God and to the King, to help other people, and to keep the Scout law.
Thank you all, good luck to you, and I wish we may meet again.